Here's students getting in trouble with social media again.
Oh, no.
The social media, people need to stop with their nonsense.
Quickly.
Everybody and their brother is looking at your social media, and you make yourself extremely visible out there, especially if your social media is public.
Right.
Everybody's such an attention whore these days.
Right.
Everybody wants everybody to know what they're doing.
Why do you think people leave their Facebook public?
Because they think that they're interesting. Again, it's this whole look at me, check out what I'm doing.
I guess. You got to be an idiot, though, to not hear all these stories and say, fuck that.
Yeah, well, again, I don't have Facebook. Never interested in that. Didn't care.
Yeah, I do, but I'm a different breed. We've been through that.
Right. I had a MySpace page, but that was only because it was new, and again,
right.
I didn't put anything personal out there.
Yeah, well, you have your Twitter.
Yeah, but that's for the show, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That'll be enough to get you fired eventually.
Yeah, it's just to promote the show.
Yep.
All right. Well, anyway, a student sues after 2-word tweet leads to months-long suspension.
2 words?
2 words.
Okay.
A Minnesota high school student will be allowed to proceed with his lawsuit against school district administrators who suspended him over a 2-word tweet about kissing a teacher.
Okay.
The student, Reed Sagahorn.
Reed Sagahorn?
Reed Sagahorn, REID SAGEHORN. Sagahorn.
Sagahorn or Sagehorn or
Sagehorn, Sagehorn, Sagahorn, something like that. Sagehorn, maybe.
Yeah, retarded name. We got it.
Was an honor student and captain of the football and basketball team at the Rogers High in the 12,500 student Elk River area district, according to the paper.
Okay.
Wow, that's a big school.
Yeah, it is.
12,500 students.
Jesus, that's kind of like Mikey's minus 12,000.
Yeah. In January of 2014, Sagehorn, using his personal Twitter account, sent a message reading, actually, yeah. Those were the 2 words, by the way.
Actually, yeah?
In response to an online question about whether he had made out with a 28-year-old teacher at the school.
So this is a dumb story. Really?
So the question was, did you ever make out with this 28-year-old teacher at the school? And his answer was, actually, yeah.
Okay. So what?
The student has since said the tweet was sent in jest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
District administrators suspended Sagehorn for 5 days, then extended it to 10 days, and then to nearly 2 months, according to the Star Tribune. He reportedly withdrew from the school and enrolled elsewhere to avoid expulsion.
What about the teacher?
Doesn't say. Sagehorn has sued Elk River Superintendent Mark Bezick and other administrators in the school.
I would too.
The district has moved to have the case thrown out, but the judge rejected its motion and will allow the suit to proceed.
I got to say, I would sue. That's bullshit. Okay. If you're not going to do something to the teacher, then you're kind of acknowledging that it was a joke. So you bust him out for a couple days and let it go.
Right.
What's the big fucking deal?
Exactly. Hail and Kill Caller, you're on the air.
What happened to the teacher?
Doesn't say.
So the kid says on Twitter that, I did make out with her, and they bust him, but they don't do anything about the teacher. They don't even investigate the teacher or nothing.
Nope. I think what she was doing was she was probably invoking her white privilege, and she was able to skate free.
I think with a name like Reed Sagehorn, he might be white too.
Well, I'm saying, but the teacher is probably white, so she probably invoked her white privilege.
But you notice the large part of the large percentage of the female teachers that are busted for fucking teenage boys are also white. So
yeah, they're very white. They're horny too.
There goes that idea.
They're both white and horny.
Yes, sage horny.
Exactly. They weren't horny when I was in high school. Either that or I was just a chud. But I didn't notice any teachers who were hitting on the high school boys when I was in school.
No, unfortunately, no. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's like those conversations when you're with the guys and they say, "You ever do that?" And you got your peer pressure going, and you don't want to appear like a total virgin. You're like, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did."
Well, you can get suspended for that now.
I guess if you put it on Twitter, yeah. I mean, who the fuck is looking at his Twitter? How did this get discovered?
Exactly. Well,
it's maybe call him into the principal's office and put the fear of God in him, but don't suspend him. I think even 5 days is excessive.
I agree with that.
And one of my best friends actually was suspended for 5 days for throwing a Skittle at a substitute teacher.
Well, could have took out her
called
eye.
it assault.
Could have hurt her.
Actually, it was 4 days, but the 5th day was added on when the principal called him to ask if he wasn't sorry, and he laughed at her.
Do you feel remorse? Are you sorry?
Aren't you sorry you assaulted the substitute teacher?
Right.
Jesus Christ. Number one, Twitter is dumb anyway.
Yeah, Neely.
There's no... Yeah, you picked a fine platform. Is there no way to make Twitter private the way Facebook is?
Yeah, don't have one.
I mean, aside from that, I mean, if you have a Twitter, it's out there for.
Yeah, it's for mass consumption. Anybody can look at your Twitter and see what you've Twittered out there.
I think though you can block people, as we were blocked by Nikki Sixx.
Yeah, Nikki Sixx blocked us.
Yeah, but well, you don't know to block somebody. You don't know to block somebody until they piss you off. Until you got to find out that you don't want them looking at your Twitter first.
Right.
It never occurred to Reed Sagehorn to maybe block whoever ratted him out.
Well, what's the purpose of having social media if you got to keep blocking people?
Yeah, how are you going to build a following?
That's why I have no Facebook. That's why I don't have a Twitter under my real name. That's why I only have a Twitter as a stupid fake character. Because if it's just going to be another avenue where I can't really be myself, why do it?
Are you saying that there's no Doghouse Riley on Twitter?
No, there is no Doghouse Riley. If there is one, it's not me.
It's a poser.
The only Twitter I have is Frank McTavish.
Right. And I'm going to follow his ass.
Even then, Doghouse sometimes seizes control and posts things that Frank wouldn't necessarily say.
Right.
Yes, there is a Doghouse Riley on Twitter.
But it's not me. It's somebody else who read The Big Sleep and
It's
thought
Alex
Doghouse Riley was a
Reynolds.
cool name.
It's Kentucky's own Alex Reynolds. I say all of our fans with Twitter accounts fucking harass this fucker. Go get him, people.
Defend my honor.
That's right.
That means you, who's the chick in the chat room that always posts those bestiality pictures?
Demon.
Yeah, it means you, Demon. Go get him.
Right.
That's an order.
Right.
And if you
Tell
don't,
Frank
Doghouse will
McTavish
call
that.
back.
All right, that's all I got about this bullshit.
All right, hail and kill.
Fuck you, pal.
All right.
I hate this story already.
You do?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish it up regardless.
All right, go ahead.
Where was I here?
Something about Frank McTavish?
No. Sagehorn has sued Elk River Superintendent Mark Bezek and administrators in the district. The district has moved to have the case thrown out, but the judge rejected its motion and will allow the suit to proceed. This really was a missed teaching opportunity for the district, said Bradley Shear, a social media and digital privacy lawyer.
Jesus, there's a such thing?
That's what I was saying. A social media and digital privacy lawyer.
John Levin is missing his calling.
I think so. He's based in Bethesda, Maryland.
Wow.
I think the district is going to have a significant legal liability because the student did have damages.
Yeah.
A number of recent legal cases involve similar issues. In 2014, New Jersey's 950 student Sterling High School district agreed to revise its student handbook and social media policies and pay $9,000 in legal fees after being sued by the family of a 17-year-old student who was suspended in part for using vulgarity to describe her principal on Twitter. So she just basically probably said, man, that Mr. Smith, he's a fucking asshole.
Right.
And so, of course, that caused a problem.
So how much money did Taylor's parents win? What was that, last year?
As part of a settlement reached in the case, the district agreed to inform students that the administration may be monitoring student discussions on Facebook, Twitter, or other social media outlets and may seek to impose penalties in accordance with the student code of conduct in such discussions cause a substantial disruption at the school.
See, here's the thing. Why do these, and this drove me nuts when my kids were in school, so this has been going on a little while now. Why do these schools think that the fucking students have to sign some kind of fucking code of conduct? I would have never, ever signed it. I'd have would you have?
Well,
if the school said you have to behave this way, now sign this contract.
Well,
would you sign it?
Well, no, but see, this goes back to actually a popular movie.
Okay.
Did you see Dazed and Confused?
I did.
You remember that what was that kid's name? He was Brody on Mallrats.
Shit.
What was his name?
I don't remember. Jeff.
Okay, whatever. Well, anyway, he was the high school quarterback.
Yeah.
And supposedly this movie was based at 1976.
Right.
And they wanted them to sign a pledge saying that they won't smoke, they won't drink, they won't stay out late at night, they won't be fucking chicks, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And he basically refused to sign it.
Yeah. That would be me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have signed when the kids. Dude, the thing with my kids was they would send home a parent one too. And the parent one was, I agree that if there's there's homework, I will check it every night.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. I fucking sent that back with a will not sign.
Yeah,
And that's what I wrote on it, will not sign.
Sure. I see Steve Jackson and there's got the answer, Jason Lee.
Jason Lee, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but basically it was a code of conduct thing, even in that movie for supposedly taking place in 1976.
Right, sure.
And they wanted you to toe the line per se.
Right.
So with social media being, such a popular outlet these days, now these schools feel that they're losing control of the students because now these students have some kind of an outlet outside of the school that they can socialize with.
But that's just so stupid.
I
Do
agree.
they not think that when we were kids that we didn't go outside and say, man, that Miss fucking Patch is a fucking cunt?
Exactly.
Or, man, I'd like to blow up this fucking school.
Well, but see, that was it between you and your buddies.
Yeah.
But the thing is if you post it out on social media and you've got a wide open Twitter or Facebook page, everybody and anybody can see it.
Yeah, but who does? Forget who can. Who does?
I don't know because I'm not
buddies.
involved with that nonsense.
It's the same 20 buddies.
Sure.
Unless you're a celebrity, unless you are a celeb, if you're fucking Michelle Teague of fucking XYZ elementary school or whatever, and you're high school, and you post out there, man, Mr. Black is an asshole. If you post that, who's going to see that? Her 5 friends.
Right.
That's it. No one else is going to see that. Maybe her parents, maybe some parents, whatever. It's these schools are just trying to overcompensate for something they don't need to worry about.
Right.
They really don't need to worry about fucking Twitter and Facebook and all that shit.
Well, who do you think is putting that idea into their head?
The government, I guess.
Well,
I don't know. The media?
No, I think it's probably the council. Whoever it is that's advising the school as far as legal counsel.
Maybe.
They're the ones who are advising them that, well, what if Sally Johnson says blah, blah, blah. We don't want to be liable, so we need to put the kibosh on this, headed off at the pass, per se.
Enough with that bullshit. Then just make a rule that the students can't have Facebook and Twitter, and they'll just ignore it and move the fuck on.
Exactly.
How is this any different than fucking making a rule saying no students can smoke? And then everybody fucking smokes. Didn't your school have a rule that you weren't allowed to smoke?
Well, that's the weird thing is that we did actually have a smoking area in the high school. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they had strict rules for us that we were not allowed to smoke or have any smoking paraphernalia on school grounds.
Yeah. Well, they actually had if you were 18, they actually had a smoking area.
Now, we had that we weren't allowed to have it. And you know what? Everybody had it. Dude, I used to sell weed in high school.
Yeah, I know.
School. I constantly had weed. Never got caught once.
Right. Well, you didn't whip it out in the middle of class either.
No, I didn't. But, I never dropped it or had a problem either.
Sure.
I just fucking sold my shit. So apparently I was breaking the rules, but who gives a shit? Nobody's going to care. Just like nobody's going to care about these fucking Twitter rules.
Right. Well, the thing is that everybody's so hypersensitive with the lawsuits these days that they're trying to head off any potential problem at the pass.
Yeah, well, enough of it. Then just don't fucking open a school.
Right.
How about that? Just don't have a school. Make everybody homeschool then. Leave it up to the parents to raise their kids. If that's how it's really got to be these days. And that fucked me up with my kids. When my kids were in school, they used to tell me that they'd sleep and shit in class.
Just like the anime girl.
Yeah. And I was like, if I would have slept in class, I would have caught a fucking fist.
Exactly.
We had did you have teachers that would fucking throw a punch at you?
No, I've never had that. But they would definitely monitor you pretty close.
I had teachers that would throw a punch. I remember this teacher, Mr. Yoho. I'll sell him out by name because he punched me in the fucking chest once. Fucking cocksucker. But he would throw a punch in a minute. I'll tell you the story. I was in, there was this girl, and she was hot, named Brenda. And I was always fucking googly eye staring at her. And he called me over after class. He made me stay after class, and he gave me some speech about I was like an itch, and if he would try and scratch it, but then he would fucking cut it off if he couldn't make it stop itching. And then I said something like, "That's a good story," and he punched me in the chest.
Wow.
He just fucking balled up his fist and punched me. I was like, "Oh, all right." I wasn't scared or nothing, but it was like, wow, I just got punched by Mr. Yoho.
Straightened you right out.
No, it didn't. Didn't stop anything.
Sure. Hail and Kill, caller, you're on the air.
Chris, I used to sleep in high school also, especially first period. My senior year, good Christ, I had first half of the year I had a science teacher. It was physics class. He was boring, but I dozed, and then when he would talk about something interesting, I unconsciously would realize it and wake up, and then when he moved on to another subject, I'd fall asleep again. Then
and he was okay with that?
Well, he didn't do anything. And I sat right in the front row, and somehow it didn't occur to me that people in the back row would notice my head lolling over.
Wow. Man, we
And
would
then I
have
found
never
out
got
like
away
10
with
years
sleep.
ago, people were like, "Oh yeah, we used to sit in the back of the room and watch, watch Doghouse's head, watch to see what time Doghouse's head would, loll over."
Dude, we were never allowed to sleep. That just was not going to happen. Maybe that's why I don't sleep now.
I'll go you one better. The second half of senior year, first period, I had a class called Comparative Political and Economic Systems.
Ugh.
Now, in your day, it was probably called Problems of Democracy or something like that.
Right.
It was basically like political science or something like that. But
Right.
the teacher was this lady. I think she was boring, and I think she knew it. But I sat in the front row. She stood probably 4 feet away from me, and I would doze off, and she would actually, in mid-sentence, without breaking her sentence, and I would doze off, she'd reach out and poke me in the shoulder with 2 fingers.
That's crazy.
And I wasn't the only one that slept, but I was the only one within poking distance.
Nice.
But actually, before that topic came up, I was just going to say, I think you're right, Neely. They're overcompensating because, how much shit has gone down in schools that's turned out to be damaging in the public eye, and it turned out, well, it was on Facebook, and you didn't know anything about it, and you didn't do anything. You could have avoided this massacre or whatever if you just looked on Facebook.
Right.
Now they're just zero tolerances for people that don't have any fucking imagination.
Sure. Well, the only ones getting rich here are the lawyers.
Of course, as they would prefer it, right?
I would agree.
I don't know. I just, it's a thing I think about a lot. Like I've said, as somebody who's reaped enormous benefits from the internet, and I know Chris has too, because it's his job, obviously. But I don't know if it's all been good.
No, most of it's bad. You kidding me?
It's making us dumb. I mean, I'm sure the same thing was said about TV, and I know I've actually read quotes where the opinion makers of the time have forecast the doom of the species because of the distraction and the stupefying effects of the telephone back in the 30s. Or the
Well,
19,
it's kind of working. It just took a while to get there.
Yeah,
now with the
it was
portable
slow moving.
telephones.
It was accelerated by the likes of Twitter.
Yeah, true.
Well, we'll stay smart, in the immortal words of Uncle Dave Windorf. The lies keep coming tough. We need wings to stay above.
Wow, that's deep.
No truer words were spoken.
Speaking of which, would you please play "Stay Tuned" by Monster Magnet? I know I requested it once before, months ago. Please play "Stay Tuned" by Monster Magnet because it's my birthday.
Okay. How old are you now? 34?
35.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah. Isn't it wonderful?
You're approaching middle age.
I know it. Fuck.
Damn it.
I just renewed my ID, and it's like, fuck, I'm not a kid anymore.
Right. You're an old fuck.
I'm trying to stay young as best I can.
Don't we all?
Don't we all, right? Except Grandpa Neely.
Exactly.
He's sinking comfortably into the porch chair of old age.
Right. I would agree.
Fuck you, pal.
35.
Wow.
All right, to finish the story here.
All right.
The Sterling High School District agreed to purge its files of all records of the students' involvement in the case and to let students attend her senior prom and senior class trip from which she had previously been banned.
Okay.
And in an opinion filed in 2010, in response to a lawsuit filed by a student who was suspended after creating a satirical MySpace profile of his principal, the U.S. Appeals Court found that the First Amendment prohibits the school from reaching beyond the schoolyard to impose what might otherwise be appropriate discipline.
Good.
The bottom line is that the First Amendment still applies on social media, Shearer said. Exceptions come when a student's expression causes substantial disruption at the school, for example, a bomb threat.
Okay.
Shearer also cautioned against district monitoring students' public social media accounts, describing the practice as a slippery and potentially expensive slope. For example, he said it can be challenging to link social media accounts to specific users without student verification, and districts open themselves up to potentially liability if they commit to monitoring a student's social media and end up missing communications that may have warned of bullying or threats, just like what Doghouse just said.
Right, sure.
You know, you should have seen it. The kid warned us that he was going to come in here with guns and start shooting.
Right.
Shearer described such monitoring efforts as an absolute waste of taxpayer dollars.
Don't disagree there.
So, again, everybody's watching what you're doing.
Yep.
Well, look what this kid said. Look what these guys are doing.
Yeah, man. The man is watching.
Yeah. So everybody's got to be careful about what they post out there. And why are you posting shit anyway?
Yeah. Especially when it's bullshit.
I agree.